What's going on, everyone? I am your host, Tremel Thompson, and you see the title of this show. And this is going to be a very, very serious show. And this is regarding Local 100 President Richard Davis. And Richard Davis' actions possibly put us all at a disadvantage this last contract negotiations. Now, if you paid attention to any of the fight back that was happening, or the lack of fight back, rather, no rally at 2 Broadway, when in the past, the other Stand United presidents, even though they had the rallies at 5 p.m. when the managers left the building, this round of contract negotiations, no rally at 2 Broadway. Why? Instead, President Davis reverted to miniature rallies that was mostly attended by release reps and release staff. When we look at the 177 deaths of New York City transit workers due to COVID and how that wasn't leveraged into at least safety in our contract, something to think about. When you look at the inflation rates, forget about what they say about pattern bargaining, because I tell you this, 3.5% for a workforce that base salary is 100,000 is different than 3% for a workforce whose base salary is 75,000. So forget about the percentages. We did not get percentages to ensure that we could live in the city in which we work. Members was asking why. Right? Now I want to bring this piece of paper up on the screen regarding a side letter, or I would call it a reminder letter, because this is very strange, but I'm going to explain what happened here. So this letter was signed May 30th, 2023, and it was by President Richard Davey of New York City Transit and our President, Local 100 President Richard Davis. And it's regarding existing contract provisions cooperation agreement. And it says, "Dear Mr. Davis, this letter is to confirm the parties' understanding regarding the below statements, which have been in effect since at least 2017. The parties' 2017-2019 MOA provided for an annual OTO usage cap of 72 hours in schedule-driven departments and a total of 9 occurrences per leave year. Existing contract provisions require that an employee must work at least 3 days during the week in which they also work on a regular day off to be eligible for pay at a time of 1.5 for working on a regular day off. Further, an employee absent immediately prior to a regular day off must submit a doctor's certification for such absence to be eligible for premium pay on a regular day off. Unless renegotiated by the parties, New York City Transit will direct consistent agency administration of these provisions as per the clear contract language. If the above reflects your understanding, please sign." And Richard Davis signed it, right? Now, why would Richard Davis sign a letter like this when it clearly states that this is already in the contract, which it is? This language is already in the contract and it been in there from the 2017-2019 MOU. And in the paper I just read, they make it clear that the contract language is clear in the contract. So why would Richard Davis sign that? I want y'all to look at the title of the show again, and I'm going to explain to you guys. The MTA was not following the contract provisions from the 2017-2019 contract. They wasn't following it. So what Richard Davis did was he signed this paper so we can't put in a grievance about past precedents, because no matter what's in the contract, which actually practiced on the property is what stands. And the MTA wasn't following that 9 occurrences thing a year or that 3 sick day. They wasn't really following that in every department. So since the MTA want to increase employee availability, they made Davis sign that. And whether it was by force because of the title of the show, or it's because he's just incompetent, it was a bad move. There's no way that he could spin this and explain this to benefit him. So with him signing this, he allowed the MTA to reset and erase past precedents, right? Now, like I said, this was signed May 30th of this year. Why would he do that? Now, I want to bring something up to you guys. Y'all remember these pictures, right? Of the fake negotiation, them exchanging documents for the contract and all that other stuff. You guys remember that, right? Now, what y'all didn't know, and this is the news right here, that President Richard Davis of TWU Local 100, before the negotiation of the contract was being investigated, and I'm going to say allegedly, even though I have solid proof, for allegedly sexual harassment. Richard Davis was compromised during the contract negotiations. The MTA knew of these allegations. They knew of these allegations. Tramel, how you sure the MTA knew of these allegations? Because the MTA have someone investigating these claims as we speak. Now, I know there's a lot of questions. One of the main questions, well, how can the MTA hold Richard Davis accountable for his discretions? Because of the person that Richard Davis allegedly harassed, right? Another thing, and I want you to go back to what I was saying earlier. Richard Davis was compromised because the MTA knew of these allegations and they knew of the issues that he was having with, I'm going to say, this particular person. Now, how can Richard Davis negotiate a contract where the people he's negotiating the contract with is ready to launch an investigation against him? How is Richard Davis able to negotiate in good faith on behalf of us and at the same time trying to save himself from letting this story come out? Richard Davis was compromised this entire investigation. So when you think about why there was no rally at 2 Broadway, you see why. When you think about when they had these little satellite rallies, not in front of the MTA bosses' faces, but in our crew rooms, in front of our workplaces, you know why. When you look at your contract and the raises do not match or even come close to what the inflation rate was these past 3 years, you know why. When you don't have anything in your contract regarding safety in a job that's inherently unsafe, where there's workers' comp cases every single day that gets controverted, you know why. To the retirees, why y'all got sold out in the contract with Medicare Advantage, you know why. Richard Davis was compromised this whole entire time because of those allegations on him. And I wish he come out and say that it's not true, because I got undeniable proof. I know who the arbitrator is that's investigating this case. I know who it is. I know when they started investigating this case. And coincidentally, I want y'all to take a guess when they officially started investigating this case. You want to know when they started investigating these allegations? After we voted yes for the contract. So it appears that President Davis had these allegations on him. He had to deliver what the MTA wanted. And then now the MTA is doing what they do. See, that's why it's good to have connections in high places when it comes to the MTA, because I get and hear everything. Every single thing. And Davis, I wish you come out and say that this is untrue. You put yourself before the members and you sold us out. And you want to know what? Make a video or put out something to say that there's no investigation going on regarding that and other things regarding you. Let's talk about that. And it makes sense because of those allegations that you have on you. You try to cover it up by wanting to be, you made the video. I'm the first president to have the most women released or whatever you were saying. Why are you doing that? What are you trying to cover up, Richie? I told you, I seen through it this whole entire time. And even in the meeting that we had, and I took you at your word until we went to the mass membership meeting and you attempted to have a whole bunch of people hate me by reading a text message about me trying to uplift you as a black man. And that was a big mistake. Because I should have known firsthand that all skin folk, not kinfolk, and you were one of them. Now, even during that meeting, which I find, and this is a separate issue right here. During that meeting that you and I had, you told me your disdain for LaTanya. How she's your best friend. She knows everything about you. And you even said, I'm getting rid of her. I'm getting rid of the whole entire top four. I don't trust Chiarello. I don't like Chiarello. I'm mad at Samuelson for releasing my ex. LaTanya gotta go. And then, and this is, I'm not exposing her business because it was on the internet. LaTanya was recovering from cancer. And guess what Richard Davis did out of spite? Because he explained to me his disdain for LaTanya. He removed her from the board of the child care fund while she was making sure she wasn't going to die. He let his emotional hate get ahead of him and remove her from the child care fund unnecessarily. And LaTanya, let me explain something to you, sis. I got love for you. I'm very disappointed in your behavior when it comes to Richard Davis. You have no reason to be at his beck and call. He does not like you. He does not mess with you. Yeah, but y'all was cool back in the day, but that's not the case now. And in my heart, I feel that you possibly could be one of the most powerful people in Local 100 if you did not decide to go along to get along. Why? You know where the bodies are buried. You know more about Richie than anyone else have or knows. You know what type of person that he truly is. You know what kind of person Samuelson is. You know what kind of person Utano is. You know where the bodies are buried. If you were to get a little bit of heart and open up your mouth and speak to God and do what's right for the members, you will be the most powerful person in this union, and I would support you 1,000%, sister. You, in my eyes, is enabling Richie to do what he did. And to all the women who's around him just because he's able to release you and keep you off of your bus or keep that broom and dustpan out of your hand. You guys are enabling him also. And trust me, Richie, you know that this is not a lie. You put yourself before the members and you sold us out big time. And trust me, I'm going to send this show to your newfound friend, Eric Adams. I'm going to remind all the people that you stand around what type of individual that you are. They need to know who you, and they know who you are. It's just that a lot of them put their selfish interests before the members also. That's what that's about. This guy is an emotional train wreck. He's not capable of or competent of leading a Boy Scout group, let alone an esteemed union called Local 100, built by Michael Quill. Richard Davis is going to destroy this union. He's in lockstep with the MTA. Lockstep. And as long as I have friends at 2 Broadway who love to tell me what's going on, and this was a bombshell. This was surprising. But it makes sense. No rally at 2 Broadway, no fight back, rushing us to sign a contract. And people bought into that. People bought into that. So Richie, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna try to get in contact with the person who made these allegations on you, and I'm quite sure you know who they are. And I'm gonna ask them, can I get them a news interview? Just to let the people know that I'm not joking, because you know I'm telling the truth. You know I'm telling the truth. And I want you to be as vocal as you was for my incident in February. You know, you made a statement, oh, Tremel did this, and you wasn't even there. Meanwhile, there was a witness who was there that said the opposite of what you said, even though you weren't there, but they were there. I want you to be that vocal and that transparent when your news situation hit the media. And let me tell you, none of your communication guys can help you because they hip to the game about how the media know how y'all try to get at me. They hip to the game. And I know that they're going to be happy to take this story. And I don't want you to do that. Oh, no comment. I can't comment on it. Nah, you could comment the same way you commented on my situation. Members, we must wake up. These people are about themselves. They are not about the members. It makes perfect sense why we got an inferior contract compared to every other agency in this city. Richard Davis had to give the MTA what they wanted in order to save his own beyond. We don't need that in our local. He's going to destroy this local, and you know who we have to blame? Tony Utano and the E-Board, because we didn't elect him. The E-Board, Tony Utano put him in place, and the E-Board certified him. And y'all know what type of person Richard Davis is. And Richie, I dare you to say that this is not true. Why don't you use your lawyers to try to bring me up on defamation? Use them so I can show you and release the true evidence that I have. And guess what? I told you, it's not about who strike first. It's about who strike the hardest. And trust me, I got a lot more in store.